This is the President and Board of Trustees special meeting, number 2013-26. The date is December 10th, 2013 at 7:16 p.m. Please take the roll.
President Barry?
Here.
Trustee Carberry?
Here.
Trustee Vorder?
Here.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan? Trustee Olenichik?
Here.
And Trustee Desmond?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. This is a public hearing in regard to the proposed 2014 municipal budget. I'm opening the floor. Does anyone have public comments or questions regarding the proposed 2014 municipal budget? Hi, could you come to the podium, please? Thank you. And I ask that you state your name, please, and stand right there. Thank you.
My name's Joanne Spraney.
Thank you. And do you live in Oak Lawn?
I don't, but I am a crossing guard.
Okay, thank you.
I just learned at 5 o'clock.
Could you spell your name for the record? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sure. Joanne, 2 words, no E. Spraney, S-P like in Peter, R-E-Y-N-E.
Thank you.
I've been a crossing guard for 5 years, and I learned at 5 o'clock this afternoon that we were going to be outsourced and privatized, and I have fellow crossing guards here with me, and we are very concerned about the budget. And as I drove in tonight, down 95th, which is beautiful, Oak Lawn is a beautiful suburb, and I thought to myself, we're going to be privatized and let go, and it's savings of $1,400, and yet has to be that much in lights and decorations on 95th Street. The decision to let go of the crossing guards is going to change 50 lives. There are some of us that it's not going, I'll speak singularly. I have a college-age student. This helps with our income, and I would like to keep my job. And as I said, I will speak singularly, but for the other crossing guards who will be coming in also, they're concerned about their pension.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Are there,
Can you address that?
sure, Larry, would you like to address?
Mayor, just for the record, the budget before you tonight does not include a staffing agreement with a third-party provider for crossing guards. It was a proposal that was discussed during the workshops with the board, as recommended by the village manager, that's me, but there wasn't a consensus among the board. So the budget that we'll be addressing tonight doesn't include that alternative. All due respect, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and talk about the numbers. The numbers you stated are incorrect, and the decision before the board involved a lot more monies, but it's not included at this point. It's not under consideration for the budget to be adopted.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Okay, hi, please come to the podium. Thank you. And please state your name.
Lynn Harris-Dennis, also a crossing guard,
Thank you.
resident of Oak Lawn.
Thank you. Can you spell your last name? Do you need this?
Sure.
We normally have a sign-up sheet where it's written, but we don't for
Not
this
a-
meeting,
not a
so I
problem.
apologize. Yeah,
HARRIS-DENNIS.
thank you.
Thank you. Larry, you said you'd be willing to meet with us. When would that be?
Whenever it's convenient for you, be more than happy to meet with you.
All of us?
I'll meet with as many as you'd like to bring with you.
Okay. Is there a date then to have this discussed and in a forum such as this so that we don't miss that?
You know, the presentation I made to the board was very early on and part of a larger package looking at costs. A lot of concerns also deal with respectfully with certain benefits for part-time employees that are really inconsistent with the direction that the village has seen comparing other budgets from other communities. So we were looking at options. We went to Oak Park, and Oak Park had embarked on this program from all indications very successfully. So that was the model, but there wasn't a consensus among the board. So it is not on the table. It's not included in the budget. We were looking to do the implementation for the new school year beginning in September of 2014. But I'll meet with you, and I think it would be a good idea so I can go over the numbers and we can have a discussion, Chief of Police, myself, Roger Pulowski
Okay.
as well.
Okay, so am I understanding correctly then that you're saying that this is not
Is not
even,
included. The changes.
it's not a thing that we need to worry about for this upcoming year?
Well,
Or you're
it
not
is-
saying that?
yes. I want to be as clear and as respectful as I can. I often read, and we all read in the newspapers, that I hear the word promise, and I hear the word something given for life. I don't know who told you that, or over the years, who made those statements, but in all fairness,
Oh, I read it in the Oakland Leaf today. Well, just so you know where you
Says it
want.
all, thank
Yeah,
you.
just,
Says it
Okay.
well, you know what? I panicked, we panicked, that's why we're here, and,
sure. But I think the good idea is to just, Chris or Carmi, my assistants, my office,
Mm-hmm. Right.
call at your convenience, set up an appointment, that's good, let's get together.
thank you, we
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you.
And if it's a time I'm available, I'll be there too for you. Okay. Yeah, I'll try, okay? Okay, so any other comments regarding the proposed 2014 municipal budget? Okay, I'd like a motion to adjourn this special meeting, please.
So move.
Properly moved by trustee Oliniechek.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Desmond. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we'll resume back at 7:30. 1 minute warning. Ready, Jane?
You ready?
Yep. Good evening. It's the Board of Trustees' regular meeting. It's December 10th, 2013 at 7:31 PM. This is meeting number 2013-27. Clerk Quinlan, please take the roll.
President Barry?
Here.
Trustee Vorder?
Here.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan? Here. Trustee Oliniechek?
Here.
Trustee Desmond?
Here.
And Trustee Carberry?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going to open the floor at this time to public comments. Number one is Andy Skundrianos regarding ballot questions. Could you please state your name?
Yeah, Andy
Are
Skundrianos.
you an Oakland resident, sir?
I think I am.
Okay.
45 years.
Thank you.
I think.
You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. There's a ballot initiative for term limits that should be voted on tonight. I'm 100% for it. Sadly, there's not enough voter participation anymore and too many career politicians at all levels. I know this is just for Oak Lawn, but it's a start. That being said, I don't think the clerk position should have term limits, not just because I think we have the best clerk, which we do, but that would be for anybody because the position does not make policy decisions, doesn't vote, and is a full-time job. But that being said, I still agree with the term limits. And then the second one's about, I think, about arbitrators and making financial awards that could cost taxpayers when in regards to union issues. That person is not responsible to the voters. To me, it's like taxation without representation. I know it's non-binding, but it's a start in this state where we got to get a little more fiscal responsibility, and I don't like arbitrators who don't live in towns telling us what to do. Then that's true with other people who don't live in town telling us what to do too. That's just my thing. I don't like that. You know, you can't vote, you don't pay taxes, you don't really have a say in it. And I don't think they should be forcing their decisions if it costs us money. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Nancy Justice Stevens, and I see from the record she is an Oak Lawn resident. Nancy, you have 3 minutes. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. And I worked with the traffic committee, the traffic review committee, to see if we can get some signage changes around the Oak Lawn Library. And we were able to resolve 2 of the issues. First one is that we will have crosswalk signs that are portable, and they will be on the east and west crosswalks of the Oak Lawn Library. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And Mr. Deachin, you worked with the lighting system for the east side of the library. Thank you for doing that.
Welcome.
So we still have 2 more things to accomplish, but we do have yellow lines on the asphalt outside of the library doors, which is supposed to have people prohibit them from parking there. And so I would still like to see no parking signs installed at the east and west doors of the library. And thank you to the Traffic Review Committee for working with me.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, I'd like Trustee Desmond to come to the podium for a special presentation. Item 4 on the agenda is the 2013 Fall on the Green contribution to Park Lawn. And I understand we have some folks from Park Lawn here as well. Could you come to the podium, please?
Chris, we can stand back over there. Cindy over here. Joyce over here. Randy here. John, you help me kind of coordinate here. Okay. Certainly appreciate that. Thank you.
So I'd like to welcome everybody here from Park Lawn and on behalf of the Special Events Committee. Now, I would also like to include in this, but I don't see them here, Steve Barrett, Dee Adesiak and Brian Hannigan. Brian, maybe you could come up here too. You did a lot of work on this. Park Lawn, I was trying to think of what I could say about Park Lawn, and the best thing I can do is their own mission statement, their own philosophy, and this is what they say. We believe that people with disabilities earnestly wish to live a normal life. They want to go to school, hold a job that truly needs to be done, a place to live comfortably, and they want a full and active social life. Within this context, Park Lawn provides adult developmental training, vocational services, supported employment, residential opportunities and recreational activities. All are backed with professional staff support. So I'd like to present this check. Brian, you want to... Seeing as you're the finance guy. So on behalf of Oak Lawn,
Check for $19,163.97.
All right.
a special thank you to all the people in the Special Events Committee. Now, would Park Lawn like to say something?
Thank you very much. It's always a wonderful night. On behalf of our organization, on behalf of the families and individuals that we touch, we would like to thank the elected officials of Oak Lawn. We would like to thank the employees of Oak Lawn. And most of all, we would like to thank the citizens of Oak Lawn for this wonderful consideration that you have given to our organization. In these times, we not only definitely appreciate the money, we definitely appreciate the money because it will go towards providing services for those that in need, but also the Fall on the Green. Through the contact that we have with so many wonderful individuals, the volunteers that we provide, the parents and the individuals that help sell chances, it's a wonderful reaffirmation of the pride that we have to serve the community, to have someone come up and say, yes, we know Park Lawn. We know somebody who has been served, and we think that it's great. We want to continue to be good citizens. We want to continue to add to this community. And again, we thank you ever so much. And I could talk up here for quite a long time about a lot of different things, but I think that, again, it always pales in comparison when we have some of the folks that we serve maybe say a little thing over here too. But I'd like to have you welcome Fran DeFogio, Joyce Oleski, Cindy Kriz, and also Chris Saylor, who partake in our services. Adrian is one of our staff members, and John Perry is our board president, longtime, lifelong resident of Oak Lawn who has a brother in his program. And what I'd like for you to do is, Chris Saylor, do you have something to say to these folks?
Yeah, Park Lawn would like to wish the residents of Oak Lawn a safe and happy holiday season.
Thank you very much. And maybe this is spontaneous if you join me. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
And because we know you have business at hand, we're going to exit stage left right here. Thank you all.
Don't forget your big check now.
At which big bank in Oak Lawn will they accept this over here? Or should we take it out of town somewhere? I don't know. Thank you all so much.
I did a good job.
You did a fine job. You did a wonderful job, Chris.
And thank you, Trustee Desmond, for your leadership also as special events liaison. So, item 5 on the agenda is conflict of interest disclosure. Does anyone on this board tonight have any conflicts of interest to disclose to any item on this agenda? Okay, moving on. Item 6. This is an approval of meeting minutes for the special meeting minutes 2013-23, dated November 26th, 2013. May I have a motion on item 6, please?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Vorder.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Carberry. Any discussion on this item? Please take the roll. Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item 7 on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes for the regular meeting minutes 2013-24, dated November 26, 2013. May I have a motion on item 7, please?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Carberry,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Quinlan. Any discussion? Please take the roll. Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda is a motion to approve, after the Board of Trustees, in executive session on November 12, 2013, reviewed for release of closed meeting minutes from April 10, 2008, June 14, 2010, all closed meeting minutes for 2011 and 2012, and all closed meeting minutes in 2013 through July 9th, 2013, that the need for confidentiality still exists. May I have a motion, please, on item 8?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Desmond,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Quinlan. Any discussion on this item? Please take the roll. Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thanks. We're going to move on to District 1 with new business by village trustees. Trustee Desmond, how's...
Thank you, Madam Chair. Real quick, I would like to remind all high school seniors and recent graduates from Oak Lawn that there will be 5 of the local trade unions doing a apprenticeship presentation at Oak Lawn High School Thursday morning at 9:30. They will be explaining to everyone how their apprenticeships works, and they will be taking applications for apprentices. Other than that, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and peaceful New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. In District 2, Trustee Oliniechek.
Just 2 quick things. I have an update on the school speed zone. There are some scheduled meetings with Representatives Kelly Burke and Cunningham from the state reps to discuss school speed zones. I know that our attorney that handles the speeding cases in the local court did talk to the chief judge, and I believe that there is going to be a little bit heavier of an eye looked upon anybody in the school speed zone in the village of Oak Lawn. I know that that's been something that, since we do have some crossing guards in the back, that it's a big issue, and I know that that's something that we're continuing to work on. Secondly, it is that time of the year. We did get hit with our first snow. I'm happy to say that we were able to take care of some seniors, but we weren't able to take care of all the seniors. There is still an abundance of need. If anybody, all throughout Oak Lawn, if anybody would like to take on a house or help in their neighborhood, they can contact Officer Passetti at
499-7880, or email them at jpacetti@oaklawn/il.gov, or they can contact myself at 708-774-7355, or email me at aolejnizzak@oaklawn/il.gov. I do want to let you know that being out there in the street, it does make a big difference. I can tell that we do still get seniors that call up and say, well, it stopped snowing, I expect my snow to be done in the morning, but we do rely upon volunteers that have work or have school or have both. And please be patient. It isn't a perfect process, but at least we are making a difference. And every year we seem to come up, especially during the very big snows when it's the 3 to 6 inches plus, and help out the residents. So if you can spare any time in the neighborhood, it'd be greatly appreciated. And we will have an abundance of college kids coming home. So if you'd like to give your college students some extra time out in the village, please have them contact me. I will always find something for them to do. Thank you. I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. And how's things in District 3,
I
Trustees?
would just
Great?
like to wish everybody also a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year as well. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. District 4, Trustee Border.
Thank you, Madam President. Yesterday, I went over to the Walgreens store to pick up my weather radio. 2 days into the program, and they're gone. They're sold out. And the program's supposed to go to December 31st, so I was quite upset. Identified myself and said that if the radios weren't in by this board meeting, I was not going to be nice to Walgreens. Got a call this morning, they got 20 cases of radios in. Okay, so Walgreens on top of it. But Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas to the people of Oak Lawn, and peace on earth to our fellow board members here.
We need it.
That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. District 5, Trustee Quinlan.
Yes, I have one small item. Several meetings ago, the mayor had brought up at the meeting to talk about that she has a blog. Well, with going on the blog, the village's address and phone number is listed on there. And reading her articles, they are definitely personal attacks. It's political garbage. And my question is to council, is that even legal to put the villages on a blog that is not a village blog, it's political, and can the village's phone number and address be on it?
I'm not familiar with the blog.
I went on it because I thought it would just be about village news, and it's not. There's personal attacks, and I would like to see if we can have that removed, unless the mayor will do that at my request. It is not an Oak Lawn blog.
Everything on there is factual. My name is on it, and people have a right to know what their mayor's position is.
That's fine, but you need to remove the
I will
address
state
and the phone number.
I will state my feelings on issues, and I am the mayor, and I stand by, that's how my constituents reach me.
Well, when the mayor brings this up at a public board meeting and promotes her own blog and has the village email or village phone number and address, I would like an opinion on that.
Are you concerned about the article on there where it outlined?
I'm not discussing any of the particular articles.
Well, if you're
but-
alleging things, you should be specific,
No,
so.
I'm just saying that I would like to have the phone number. You can have your cell phone on there if you feel so, but I do not feel that the address and the phone number of the village.
Thank you
this
for
is
your
not-
feedback.
This is not an village blog.
Was it the article on your move to cut senior spending?
My
Okay.
report is done. Thank you.
Okay, so even though you make allegations, you have nothing to substantiate them, and you
Mayor?
decide,
I'm done.
you know, I'm not done, Carol.
My
Trustee,
name is Trustee Quinlan to you. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Mayor. Just Merry Christmas, everyone, again. Have a safe and a happy Christmas with your families.
Wonderful message. Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to item 10, Village Manager's Report. Larry, you have item A, General Village Matters.
Mayor, I have nothing more to report than echo the thoughts of the board and the trustees and the mayor, wishing everyone in this fine community a wonderful, joyous Christmas and New Year.
Thank you so much. I love these reports. Item 11, Ordinance 1327-77. This is an ordinance for the levy and assessment of taxes for the tax year 2013, collectible during the fiscal year beginning in January 1st, 2014, and ending December 31st, 2014, for the Village of Oak Lawn, Illinois, Cook County, State of Illinois. May I have a motion, please, on Ordinance 1327-77?
So made, Mayor.
Properly moved by Trustee Vorder.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Straight. Any discussion on item 11? Please take the roll.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 12 is an ordinance number 1327-78, an ordinance providing for the reduction or abatement for the corporate debt service fund for the 2013 tax levy. May I have a motion, please, on item 12?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Carberry,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Desmond. Any discussion on item 12? Please take the roll.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 13 on the agenda is ordinance number 1327-79. This is an ordinance adopting the 2014 Village of Oak Lawn municipal budget. I have a motion, please, on item 13.
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Desmond,
I'll second.
seconded by Trustee Vorder. Any discussion on item 13?
Yes, Mayor.
Trustee Straight.
Thank you very much. First of all, this budget marks a significant difference in both the way we deliver services to our residents and also how we value our employees. During the past 6 months, we have seen plans to outsource senior services, to outsource custodial services. Certainly outsourcing crossing guards was on the table. And we all, of course, remember the most recent decision, very controversial decision to outsource our 911 emergency telecommunicators. What's also noteworthy about this budget is that we will have 3 less firefighters in the year moving forward, and we will have 3 less sworn police officers and 2 less and 3 less additional police personnel, detention aides and booking officers. All of these things were, of course, done under the guise of a financial crisis. We've been hearing a financial crisis, again, ever since our August budget meeting. And the reason I say under a guise of a financial crisis is because in August, the village manager did claim that we had in excess of an $8 million deficit. And tonight, the budget that we are about to vote on is actually, amazingly enough, it's balanced, and there is no deficit. How was this accomplished? Essentially, it was accomplished by cutting services, by terminating employees, and essentially by increasing fees, which is an increase in taxes. The tragedy of all this is that none of this had to be done. As I stated, and I've said this from the beginning, this was a manufactured crisis, and the village manager would have us believe that he miraculously had made an $8 million deficit disappear before our eyes. The deficit was largely created to convince the residents that a crisis existed. Of course, this manager-made crisis could have been averted simply by not paying down the $6.12 million in debt that is not due for 10 to 15 years. It's a matter of priorities. It would be, as I think a fair analogy would be, if any one of you went home and told your family, we're not going to be eating next year because I'm going to pay off the mortgage, when you don't really have to do that. We shouldn't overlook the human factor of these budget decisions. Those that pay the heaviest cost are the families that live in the town that we are supposed to be protecting and supporting. Oak Lawn has always provided excellent services. By decreasing services, we take the risk of families looking to move elsewhere, to outside of our community to meet their needs. The last 5 years have been brutal for everyone, everywhere, certainly many of our families here in Oak Lawn. Just as the nation has suffered through high unemployment, underemployment, and foreclosures, so have our residents. Now we're making a decision to reduce our workforce, primarily through outsourcing, with little regard for those individuals. Those that have lost their jobs join the ranks of the unemployed, which adds to the burden of food pantries and social services that are already taxed. Families will suffer from lost wages. To make it worse, new fees and taxes add to an already stressed family budget. The village will lose income from businesses and venues that would otherwise be benefiting from the money that is usually spent on discretionary and necessary spending for personal needs. In the short term, the dollars and cents look good on paper. But over the long haul, the picture is much bleaker when you look at how the individuals are affected. Outsourcing looks good in the first year, but thereafter prices go up and the savings evaporate. This is not a budget that I can be proud of as a trustee or that I can support.
Thank you. Does that conclude your report?
That includes my comments, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, very good. And is there any other comment regarding the budget? Okay. Okay, Treasurer O'Donnell.
I respectfully don't agree. Sorry. I respectfully don't agree with Mr. Street. We weren't paying into our pensions. We were sit there and you could look at the audited financials. We were spending more than we were bringing in. Me and Brian and Larry have talked about how there's been a rule been put in place that's going to start and where the actual pension funds can start taking money from the sales and property tax going forward. So this crisis was going to hit. It just mattered if you were going to wait 2 years and then let it really crush us, or if we were going to be proactive in doing something about it before we got there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add,
Brian?
if, again, the audited financial statements, this is available for all residents. Page 137 of the annual CAFR. We put a lot of work and effort that goes into this book and it's not just done by me, it's done by Joanne, Deb Nabrizi, a lot of people in my office. $13.7 million was the excess of revenues, of expenditures over revenues in 2012, $11.4 million in 2011, $11.1 million in 2010, $12 million in 2009, and $6.5 million in 2008. That's an average of $10 million a year, and those numbers don't include the pension obligations. I'm not taking one position or another on anything we're trying to do, but I think what we have spent a lot of time in the last 4 months, Pat, myself, Joanne, and a lot of people at the village, is to address a village which, again, has a very stable revenue source and increasing costs. And this particular budget, which we've asked the board to approve, is about how much infrastructure needs we have and the future pension obligations. And I think it's a very balanced approach to it based on what I just handed the board to reinstate some of the infrastructure needs in streets and to still make a pension contribution to both pension funds, which is more than double what it's been the last 4 years. So you know, I just don't agree with any statement that this village doesn't have financial issues when you talk about a 2016 law where they're going to physically take the village's sales tax, just the way the IMRF pension fund currently can do for our property taxes. So I think when you look long-term, these are the kinds of things we need to start to address now.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, thank you.
Yes, Larry?
Mayor, Board of Trustees, it certainly is not an easy job to present a budget and balance it across this country today, given decisions that were made sometimes in some municipalities we read about 60 years ago, where, again, the ladies who got to the podium earlier, promises and commitments without regard to what the long-term financial impact would be were made. That's unfortunate, but our job here is to try to solve it, not kick the can down the road. The decisions that were made in Springfield, I view it, though there's differing views, I view it as positive, but it doesn't address local municipalities. You're reading about Chicago, the mayor in Chicago, and mayors across this country that are looking to see what occurred with a judge in the state of Michigan. I certainly discuss with my employees as much as I can, as much as they'll listen, that we need to work together rather than allow a judge who does not live in Oak Lawn, who's not directly accountable, much like an arbitrator, but to your mayor and your trustees who do listen and are elected. It's not easy. I respect any differences that may have occurred during the budget workshop, but ultimately, you know, we're sitting up here accountable to the taxpayers. That's what our responsibility is, and to work to submit under law at the municipal level. We don't deficit finance. We're not supposed to. Our treasurer is correct. He's spot on. And with further discipline in the years ahead, I'm hopeful that we can be in better shape, but we're not going to do it alone. It's going to take the state of Illinois through legislation. It's going to take our employees, take management, all led by the mayor and the board that you elect, who try to reach a consensus. And I think their consensus is why they were sworn into office, is to do the very best to provide quality services. Now, I just want to briefly comment on two words that have been used, I think, unfairly. And I do read the newspaper, I read the quotes and the comments, and that word is outsourcing or privatization. Ladies and gentlemen, Oak Lawn has outsourced and privatized through the years, long before anybody on this board arrived here. We do landscaping, accents landscaping for many years, and continue to do that using a private company, bid out, and they work hand in hand with our public employees, and they work quite well together. Our family services are no longer delivered by public employees, but they're delivered by Genesis Therapy, a nonprofit entity with two ordained ministers who run that service with a lot of care. Anybody who knows Catherine Fairchild, Mike, you would know that these are very caring people. There are very few municipalities that provide that type of service. I was quite surprised when I came to Oak Lawn. Usually that's a function of a county or a township. Counseling services are provided through your local tax dollars, and during these difficult economic times, this board did not waver on providing that service. They did determine that there was a different delivery model, not using employees, cutting costs, but still providing quality services. And I would submit to you that the services today provided by Genesis are even better. Senior services. The discussion of outsourcing senior services really is not it's not fair to just say that we're talking about outsourcing. Sounds like we're shipping a service off. A decision was made. We had a building that had been neglected, was deteriorating, needed roof work, needed electrical work. The bathrooms were not handicap accessible, not ADA compliant, and a decision was made working with a bank to sell that asset, bring in tax base, bring in 22 new private sector jobs and find a new home, hopefully creatively, for our seniors. But in the interim, our seniors are in the McGugan School. Right alongside them are men and women that do emergency training through Advocate Hospital. So I think they have a very good tenant right next to them. And then they have Lakeshore Baptist or Lakeside Baptist School. Is it the ideal solution? Is it a long-term solution? I don't believe so. It's short-term. But we have Genesis that is also managing and servicing those seniors with care, I would submit, with counseling abilities, something that we did not have before. And we also have a senior board, which in the future I certainly hope we work with that senior commission and involve them more. I know that Trustee Quinlan's talked about that, and I think that that's a valid goal. And I know the mayor, I've sat in many meetings she's had with seniors as a focus group to get their input. So that's a work in progress. Discussions with the Park District. My goodness, the Park District provides, we all get those quarterly reports delivered to our homes. The Park District in Oak Lawn's accredited nationally. It's received awards. It's probably one of the top 5 park districts in the state of Illinois. They've received awards. And if you look at their program, they've been providing senior programs for years. There are many of our seniors that get programs, whether it's at the pavilion, whether it's at the tennis facility, whether it's through their wonderful performing arts program. So talking to the Park District is not a negative thing. It's not callous. It's not without regard for the seniors in the future. So, you know, I'll conclude my comments, Mayor, just to say that I'm sure always heavy with heart when it comes to personnel decisions. And we do our best to work with unions that will talk to us, will negotiate with us, or individual employees like the crossing guards who came here. I have an open door policy. I meet with employees on a regular basis. Employee has a concern, they come into my office. If they have a concern that they wish to receive on a confidential basis, they have a human resources department. We also provide a very wonderful counseling service, which is an employer provided service that's done on a confidential basis. 1 out of every 10 employees in this village uses that counseling services. And that is a wonderful service that the village as an employer provides. So overall, sure, not an easy budget, tough decisions, but I can stand before you tonight and tell you, you will continue to get quality services in this community. We always have, whether it's police, fire, emergency, dispatch, public works. You've got some of the finest services, I believe, in the Southland area and in the greater Chicago area. That will continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Trustee Carberry.
Yes, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but based on this budget and the structural deficit lectures we've been getting over the last few weeks, we're not done. We really haven't solved the problem, right?
Well, I was just going to say, Mike,
we got more to go, right?
Yeah, there's this village. I'll just read from what Moody's told us in August, all right? And this is the rating agency that along with Standard & Poor's, rates our debt. We believe that the village will remain pressured despite the improving general fund balance due to limited liquidity and expenditure pressures in the form of increased pension costs in the coming years. So this is from Moody's. This isn't something that any of us created. To Mike's point, the structural deficit that we still have, that's still in this budget, we have delayed streets of 1.3 million, meaning in the budget we put in 2.2. The recommended street level in the Public Works meeting was 3.5. So that's 1.3 of it. We've deferred some pension contributions, but beyond even the 5 million that we're putting in, that's 1.5. The village has made a commitment to retiree medical, that's 400,000, and the sewer infrastructure, which is to rehab the sewer problems in the village, is about 200,000. We still have committed a lot, but that's about $3.5 million. So we still, to Mike's point, we have a structural deficit of still $3.5 million, which we still have to work on in the coming years.
Thanks.
I
Anything
mean,
else,
that's
Mike?
those are the real responsibilities that we have to fulfill the promises we made to police and fire and to Public Works and our employees that, and it's not easy, and I certainly never wanted to be an alarmist. I believe Oak Lawn is going to be, we'll get through this and we're going to be fine, but it's just not going to happen. There are going to have to be decisions made, and we haven't closed the gap. There's still the structural deficit gap that we made very clear to us in the first conversation, which I get it, I understand. But we made more, is this the largest pension since when? The largest pension funding?
It's for the last 5 years, I think we've averaged about 33% of the recommended amount. That's how much we gave into it. And that number has gone around between, it was at 1.2, I know last year, it was less than that for prior years.
I mean, that's what's important.
So this year, we're going to be at 75%, so more than double sort of what we had been.
So if 10 years ago we were so flush with cash, why weren't we putting in fully funding the pensions, you know? So there's a, that's what needs to be done. That's where we need to get, and that's what you made very clear. Thank you for your work. And a long way to go, but it's a start.
If I could also just clarify one thing that I talked to the chief. There's no firemen that are being laid off. That's just, I don't know where that rumor came from, but that's not in the.
Nobody said they were going to be
Trustee
laid off.
Straight?
We're going to, thank you. There's nobody said any firemen were going to be laid off. There will be 3 less firefighters next year. We have 75 now. We'll be down to 72 next year. That's in the budget.
Mayor, once again, it's
Mayor?
important to
Mayor.
note, again, when that comment's made to the general public, it is the contention, not only of your fire chief, okay, not only of your village manager, but experts in the field, that Oak Lawn's Fire Rescue Department is at a level that exceeds the needed level to provide quality services. Now, having said that, our intent is not, our desire wouldn't be to lay off, but our desire certainly is to work with labor to come to a resolution on what the model should be for communities our size, 8.9 square miles, 3 fire stations, some of the best equipment in each of those houses. Our fire rescue units under Chief Sheets' direction are even better rigs today, and certainly our partnership with Advocate Hospital when it comes to heart disease and heart illnesses and emergency response is, in my opinion, a leader in the state. So having said that, the question there is what level should we be at? And I think this board and the prior board publicly said that police are our #1 priority, given what our work need is, and the fire rescue department needs an adjustment. That's the fact. So if 3 positions through retirements were eliminated, I would submit to you that there's more to come.
Okay, any other discussion? Trustee Desmond?
I'd like to echo the sentiments. This is something that was on the Tribune the other day from Representative Tom Morrison from Palatine talking about the pension legislation in Springfield. He said, all we've done is delay the day of reckoning just a little bit longer, adding that Illinois should learn from the mistakes that prompted Detroit to file for bankruptcy. You cannot continue to make promises to workers that can't be kept. You cannot overtax the private sector for very long. You cannot force them to foot the bill. And I think Pat and Brian have worked very hard on helping to alleviate those problems. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments? Trustee Warder?
Listen, I would just like to say that I'm not happy with the budget either, but unlike Trustee Strite, I'm proud of it. It reflects a lot of work. It is reality, okay, in 2014. You can't print money in your basement. But I do believe that the Village of Oak Lawn has a bright future, okay, and we're going to work hard to bring in new sources of revenue. and we can move on, okay, into 20th century. But I would like to comment that I am concerned about public safety and the layoff of those, or the not replacing of those 2 police officers. I'd like to keep that in mind, okay, when the revenues start coming back, that if we lose the town, okay, through criminality, we lose the town. So it's important to me that we keep our police force strong. That's all I have.
Excellent, thank you. Did I see a comment down there? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I do-
Trustee Olejniczak.
I do want to
I think I
compliment the
cut you off
village
earlier,
staff.
sorry.
I do want to compliment the village staff for all the work that's gone into it and the elected bodies that have gone into it. But I think the analogy of that was used here of like saying that the paying down on your mortgage even though it's not due, I think the better analogy is saying that the value of my house right now is less than what the value of my house was 5 years ago. And what I want to do is I want to take a mortgage out for the value that it was for 5 years ago and worry about the debt that I'm going to pay down 20 years from now, maybe give it to my kids. The fact is that we as a village have to be very, very careful. We want to provide the best goods and services that we possibly can provide for the residents and also be responsible to the taxpayers. There has been a minimal amount of fees. There were a lot of talk about different things that we could do. Matter of fact, in a brainstorming session, one of the things that was brought up by myself was to sell our waterworks, just to see if that would help us as residents who have put into that village waterworks. Our staff said that that would not be the thing to do, but to be ostracized and ridiculed for bringing an idea to the table that's thinking out of the box, I don't think is the right way to go about it. It is difficult to go ahead and balance a budget, whether it's your own home budget or whether it's a village budget. And when you look at difficult decisions that have to be made, I commend each and every department head, and I commend everybody that has been involved with this village budget. We are making the best budget that we could possibly make under these economic times and circumstances. And I think that what's going to happen is history will prove, again, as every year we talk about this, and there are people that say that, I can remember my first budget and some of the decisions we made, there was gnashing of teeth and pulling of hair saying that this is going to be bad, and it didn't happen. So a year from now, we'll sit back and we'll review the words that we said this year and see if the budget that we planned worked or if it didn't work. But I can tell you one thing, when you talk about making sure that your employees are made whole, and pension is one of the issues that we're doing an extra benefit and an extra job to do. That is money that long-term employees have put in, and we've put in and made a promise to them for their years of work that that money's going to be there. And we're making a commitment not to kick it down the road or not to refinance bad debt, but to say we are going to pay up front. So I am very proud of the work that's been done on this budget, especially with the minimum, if not little amount of fees or taxes. No property tax increase once again. With how much did we do in fee increase, Mr. Hannigan?
Well, I was just going to say, Alex, the property tax has been reduced, as we said earlier in the earlier budget meeting, by approximately $300,000 on a dollar versus dollar basis. We've increased the sewer fees, again, to address rehabilitation needs in the village in the form of INR and all the infrastructure needs that sewer needs. We've only passed through the water rate increase that we received from the city of Chicago. And there are no, we did meet with Chief Sheets on looking at ambulance fees, but those will go through insurance companies as people are picked up by our ambulatory services. So there are no fees other than the ones that I just mentioned. So
there was no increase in gas tax?
That's correct.
There was no increase in natural gas tax?
That's correct.
There was no increase in electric fees?
That's correct.
There was no increase in your village property tax?
There was no increase in the village property tax for the village component, which, as we all know, is 12% of the total. That's correct.
So in a time when Trustee Strite made a very good point that our residents are hurting, and there have been a lot of foreclosures, I look forward to leadership of somebody that maybe can bring some knowledge to the table and not in the fourth quarter with a minute to go say that they're not happy with the budget. All during the budget process, every one of us has had the ability to put what we would like in there. I didn't hear too many solutions. I just heard a lot of questions that didn't go anywhere. So I'm very happy with this budget, and I commend our staff for it. It's a difficult budget. Nobody's happy with the decisions that you have to make when it comes to personnel, but it's the best that we could do under the circumstances.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the budget?
One last thing? Just one last thing?
Sure.
Okay. Just, and I want to thank all the trustees and the mayor, and this was, I know it was a tough process, but it was, I thought it was handled very well, and besides Mr. Street, every other trustee, added something to the equation, so appreciate everybody's help.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I would like to, thank you, Mayor.
Trustee Straight?
First of all, I think that, that comment by the treasurer was really inappropriate.
Had you
and
met with
unnecessary.
him when he asked you to?
I've attended every single budget hearing. Yes, I have.
But
Okay.
you have not met with him specifically?
Actually,
Every
the
other
last
trustee
time,
at this table
and
has.
I know Treasurer O'Donnell finds it very humorous.
No one's
that
laughing, sir.
Well, he is, and for a guy that got the position because his wife gave you $2,500, it's a
That is
shame.
not- that is not-
And what he's done in the
Okay.
Mayor, can we take the vote?
Trustee Straight, well, I'm
Can you
gonna,
take
I'd
the
like to,
vote?
let me wrap it
I'm
up.
gonna
You know,
move
I
on.
sat here quietly listening to
Trustee
everything
Straight,
that
you will
everybody had to
recognize the
say.
chair. You will
I
recognize the chair.
I just would like to make a
I would like
responsive
the
comment.
record to show that I have asked the trustee to be silent, and he's not responsive. Thank you for responding. Very good. I have a few things to say also before we take this vote. First of all, there were changes in the earlier 5 o'clock meeting. This needs to be the amended budget per the changes that were discussed at the earlier meeting. So those changes are outlined in this document. Okay, and so that's before all of you. No surprises there. I want to reiterate the toughness of the budget process. None of this is easy. We are certainly facing difficult times in the village, and to have blinders on is not the right way to proceed. With this budget, we are lowering property taxes. The dollar levy is less this year. This is the first time, Brian, in recent history that number is going down. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
we've tried to keep it relatively flat. Sandy.
Yeah,
It's-
and this is a deliberate lowering of that. We are doubling our pension contributions. I'm very proud of that. Trustee Olenichuk was correct. This is something we owe our long-term employees. We are decreasing our debt. This is the right thing to do. All of us know managing our household budgets, lowering debt is a positive thing. We have decreased the structural deficit, significantly. We are at about 3.5 million. We were at last year about 15 million, is that correct? 17 million, so we've got it down to about 3.5 million in our structural deficit. The workshops, we had lowered it from 8.7 to 3.5. It was painful all the way. I appreciate everyone's sensitivity to doing things in a way that will maintain the services we come to expect and appreciate in Oak Lawn, and we're going to do it right. So with that being said, I'd like any other discussion on this?
Yes.
Trustee Straight.
Thank you, Mayor. I think, what my point would be, essentially you're taking an approach to the process that I think, and obviously that there's a lot of support for that, including yourself, the manager, the finance director, the treasurer, and probably a majority of this board. My point is this: there's a lot of different ways to approach the process. We don't need to be, first of all, we keep hearing about, we're being compared, actually the treasurer compares us to Detroit. I mean, that's ludicrous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Detroit, essentially, when Detroit went into bankruptcy, it had, if you called the police, the response time was about almost 1 hour. 50% of all the street lights in Detroit were not working, okay? Oak Lawn isn't Detroit, and it's not the state of Illinois either. Now,
Okay, so we're
we
gonna call
don't
the
have
vote.
to, if
Please-
you don't
please
mind,
wrap it up,
if you don't,
sir.
you know what,
Thank you.
I didn't interrupt you. Please
Yes, you
don't
did,
interrupt me.
actually.
I have the floor now. So,
I control who has
yeah,
the
I'm
floor, so-
I'm sure you can.
That's
So,
correct.
but I think the people have a right to hear the different perspectives. We don't have to outsource our personnel. We're not really going to save money on that, and that is what we're going to do. That's what we're doing. We don't have to pay down the pensions at the pace that's being suggested. Now, that is an approach, and that's I guess, you might say, well, okay, that's the best way let's make it painful and let's go ahead and pay off everything. Let's do it right now. The fact of the matter is the law requires us to pay to get the pensions 90% funded by the year 2040. Well, I should remind everybody it's 2013. We've got 27 years to do that. So now we do have to have them. We have to be paying 90% of our contribution by 2016, and that's so we even have time for that. We need a thoughtful solution. There's a lot of different ways to approach it, and one of the ways, by the way, Brian Hannigan, the finance director, mentions our Moody's. One of the reasons that Moody's gave us a negative outlook is because of our fund balance, and because it's been so low. And you know why it was so low? Because the former finance, the chairman of the finance, recommended that we held property taxes flat every year for 7 consecutive years. And Brian knows that.
I'm going to call the vote.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Call the vote.
Sure you do. Go ahead and call it.
Thank you. Please call the vote.
Trustee Vorder?
This is the
Yes.
amended budget.
Yes, with the amended budget.
Trustee Strite?
No.
Trustee Quinlan?
No.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-2.
Thank you. Moving on, item 14, ordinance 1327-80. This is an ordinance amending Title 6, Chapter 8, Section 29 of the Oaklawn Village Code entitled Portable Sidewalk Signs. May I have a motion, please, on this item?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Oliniechek.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Desmond. Any discussion on this item? Please take the vote.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strite?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 15 on the agenda is a request to approve the Traffic Review Committee referral for no parking signs on the west side of the 10900 block of Keating Avenue. This was a 6-0 vote to approve. TC 1205-M like Mary in District 6. We have a motion on 15 by Trustee Carberry, properly moved. Wait, we have a,
16 is the ordinance that goes.
oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. And we're going to bundle in the ordinance with that. That's ordinance 132781, granting those traffic regulations. Is your motion still
Motion to approve.
properly
Second.
moved by Trustee Carberry, seconded by Trustee Oliniechek? Any discussion on these items? Please take the roll.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strite?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 17 is ordinance number 13-27-82. This is an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issue of not to exceed $179,550,000 regional water system revenue bonds in one or more series of the Village of Oaklawn, Cook County, Illinois, for the purposes of constructing improvements to the existing system of said village, prescribing all the details of said bonds, and providing for the collection, segregation, and distribution of the revenues of the system of said village. May I have a motion properly moved by Trustee Carberry,
I'll second.
seconded by Trustee Vorder. Any discussion on this item? Please take the vote.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strite?
And I'm going to vote yes because I support the project, but here we're taking on 170. Nobody seems to mind taking on this debt because it's good debt. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, just clarification on that.
We're taking a vote, Larry.
Okay.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
And Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. Item 18 is ordinance 1327-83. This is an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 2, Section 4 of the Oaklawn Village Code pertaining to ambulance services. May I have a motion, please, on item 18?
Motion approved.
Properly moved by Trustee Vorder,
Second.
Seconded by trustee Desmond. Any discussion on this item? Please take the roll.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. This is 19.
Yeah. And actually, I think Larry's going to want to speak to it.
Okay, okay. We have Resolution 132751, a resolution approving a lease agreement with Advanced Orthopedic and Spine Care, SC, for property commonly located at 10900 South Cicero Avenue.
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Carberry,
Second.
seconded by trustee Oliniechek. I'm going to turn the floor over to Larry. I understand you had a few remarks.
Yes, Mayor, if I could please ask the motioner and the seconder to just modify it somewhat. It's to give authorization to complete negotiations. We'll come back to you. You'll notice in your package, there was not an attached lease. There's no proposal to change that lease with the exception of the dollar amount, which is still under negotiation, and I'd like to explain that briefly. When the board bought this property for land banking purposes for the Stony Creek Promenade, you bought it for $2,500,000 in 2009. The first tenant actually was Midwest Orthopedic, and they put approximately $600,000 in improvements to the interior of the building. That improvement is now the value of the village. So the building as an asset is an improved 10,000 square foot building, about an acre of property. Recent appraisals will indicate that the appraised value exceeds significantly what you purchased it for. In that period of time, the lease started out at $15,000 a month for $180,000 a year. Most recently, on an annual basis, you're getting $261,250 or $21,770 per month. So we're still negotiating with the party. The partners, when they entered in this lease, it was a group of doctors, and those doctors, they divided their practices. The current physicians are going into the Bluestone building and will complete their lease at the end of this month, December. Dr. Troy, who left that practice, opened his new practice and acquired the former Napleton property on West 6700 West 95th Street. And he's been operating his practice with his associates for several months at that location. He has expressed an interest in going back into the Edgar property for a one-year lease with an option to renew while he demolishes the current site across from Little Company of Mary and builds a new medical complex. That's going before the Planning Commission, moving through. Meetings have taken place in District 1, District Trustee Desmond's neighborhood. So the only issue I want to bring your attention, I don't want to lose time because you don't have a meeting at this time in December. I want to continue working with a good doctor and his attorney, but we're going over some issues on the price. I want to make sure you're aware of that, and I'm hopeful we can come to agreement on that. And so we don't lose time, I will bring it back to you on agenda, but just if you give me that green light to authorize us to proceed with the negotiations, we will come back to you. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have a number 19 amended. Any discussion on this item? Please take the vote.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes. Excellent.
Thank you. Item 20, Resolution 13-27-52, a resolution initiating the submission to the voters of the Village of Oak Lawn, the public question of whether to limit the consecutive number of terms which one person may serve in any elected office within the Village of Oak Lawn to 3 consecutive terms. May I have a motion, please, on item 20?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Carberry,
Second.
seconded by trustee Desmond. Any discussion on this item?
Madam President.
Trustee Border?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of term limits. I think a lot of the stonewalling that goes on downstate and even in Washington, D.C., is done by politicians that are long-term politicians, and their decisions are based not on what's the best interest of the people, but on what's their best interest. And it's often said that local politics is politics. And I think us, by doing this, sends a message, okay, to the higher elected officials, okay, that maybe they should think about term limits. This may not be perfect, but it is an ordinance which I can support.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this
Yes,
item?
ma'am.
Trustee Carberry?
Yeah, I too obviously support term limits, but, and we ran on it, and I believe it, and I always have. I think it's going to be it's the right thing for Oak Lawn. It is sending the right message, and I want to make it very clear. I've said this to the trustees. I know there's some of you that have, have been here, will be beyond, the 12 years. Several trustees, and I will not myself, and I would not use it politically against any trustee serving, additional years. This is moving forward. This is for all our elected officials. This is something it's not going to. So it wouldn't be retroactive to Carol or to Alex or Bob. So and again, I wouldn't use it politically against of any of our trustees that have served the village. This is just moving forward, and with that, I hope we can get everybody's support on this. I think it's the right thing for Oak Lawn.
Thank you. Trustee Quinlan?
Actually, the one thing I did want to ask you on reading the resolution, I just don't like those two paragraphs, and I would like to see those two deleted. Whereas the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Oak Lawn believe imposing a limit on the consecutive terms that one person may serve in any single elected office within the village will promote diversity in office holders, leading to fresh and unique ideas with village government. And then the next paragraph as well.
What does the next paragraph say for the record,
Whereas the
please?
President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Oak Lawn believe that that imposing a limit on the consecutive terms that one person may serve in any single elected office within the village will instill urgency in forming and implementing policies for the benefit of the public and will serve and promote the general benefit of the public.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the resolution. Do I have a second? Okay, so the record states that you made the motion, however, we don't have a second, so that motion dies. And any other discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Trustee Straight.
I'd like to say a few things about it. This is one of those questions that I think before you put it on the ballot, everybody knows the answer to it. When the voters are asked, do you want term limits, the answer is obvious. They do. It's the lack of confidence that they have in elected officials today, and especially what we see going on in Washington and Springfield. But while they'll answer yes to that question, they'll also turn around and reelect their own representatives by wide margins. And like in Tinley Park just had that question of term limits. It passed by 83%, and then they reelected Mayor Zabrocki, who was there for about 20-some years, by similar margins. And I think, I think the real question that I have is, when you use a question for a referendum, you really should be looking at, what is a significant issue of public policy? What is it that we should be asking public input on? We just made all kinds of important decisions tonight, some that are going to affect many people greatly, and we don't really know how you feel. We're making a decision based on how we're deciding for you. And I think, so we can put on 3 questions on the ballot. And I think if we're serious about getting input on public policy questions, I think one question might be, should we be outsourcing our emergency telecommunicators?
Please
I think-
keep your comments to the item under discussion, please.
This is the item. I am
Okay.
speaking to the item under discussion.
We're discussing
if
term
board
limits,
members, please don't interrupt me, Mayor. If the-
I'm controlling the
if there
meeting,
are
and it is
board
my right
members
to
that
control
feel-
this meeting.
Of course you are. That's an important question that we could get your feedback on. We could also, we could ask, should we be adding more police officers?
Please
or
keep your
should we-
comments, trustees,
This is very
straight to
much
the
to the
item.
point. Please stop interrupting me.
It is not.
Very much
It
to
is
the
not.
point. So one of the questions would
Trustee
be,
Straight,
no, I'm sorry,
leave your
but I'm going to
comments
continue.
pertaining,
okay?
you're discussing other
Mayor is out
things.
of order.
Please, you are out. Point of order, Mayor. You're out
Trustee
of
Straight,
order.
trustee Straight,
The chair
leave
is
your
out of order.
comments to
please-
the item. This is Robert's
You know what? I
rule.
know you don't want to
I'm
hear what
going to-
I
I'm
know
gonna-
you don't want to hear what I have to say. I
heard it-
understand
we
that.
heard it the
okay?
last half
But it's
hour,
not
sir.
the public has a right to hear me. So please stop interrupting. My
Please,
points are
Trustee
very much
Straight.
to the point.
We're
very
discussing-
much to the issue before us,
Do
okay?
your comments pertain to term limits, sir?
They pertain to questions of referendum. Yes, they do.
Okay, the referendum on question is term limits.
You know what,
Please
and I'm
leave your
making a
comments
point,
to
okay?
term
And
limits.
I'll tell you, that's great. I know that again, you want to throw me off point, but I'm not going to be off point.
Trustee
Got a written
Straight,
script.
If
You can't
board
go.
members are,
trustee Straight, leave your, I'm not throwing you off point, I'm keeping you on point.
please do then. Allow me to complete my comments.
Leave them
Thank
on
you.
point, sir, and
They're
you
very
will.
much on, you know what, if a board member feels strongly about term limits, they can make a pledge. They can say, that they're not going to run for more than 3 terms. And that's a commitment that they can make to the voters, and the decision is up to you, and it's up to the voters in your district. We have term limits. The American system of term limits is we have an election every 4 years, and the voters can decide whether they want to keep you or not. Again, there are some very important questions we could ask. Why don't we ask the public should the Oak Lawn Fire Department be fully staffed as
Trustee
recommended? You know what?
Straight, you
This
are out
is
of
very
order,
much the
and-
point.
and
You know
I'm
what?
moving
Why
on.
don't we ask the voters? How about if we ask, should we have mayoral recall?
No, I
'Cause that
want-
we know the answer to that. That was
Trustee
passed by
Straight?
overwhelmingly.
Call the vote.
This hurts.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
No.
Trustee Quinlan?
Would have voted yes, but now I have to vote no because my resolution wasn't
Okay.
changed. amended.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-2.
Thank you. Before I move on, I'm going to just step aside a little bit from standard procedures, and I regret that I couldn't do this before the vote. But sitting to my side is a clerk who is impacted by this, and I would like just your comments regarding this item. We didn't vote on it last time because you were not at the meeting, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak your piece regarding this. And I realize you don't vote, but I think it's important that your comments be heard for the record.
Thank you, Mayor. I do appreciate that. I had discussed this with Trustee Carberry, and I am not a voting member of this board, yet my job is full-time, and sometimes I am the glue and mortar in the village. But, this will not affect me, because in 2017, I could run again for 3 consecutive terms. This has nothing to do with me. But, whatever the board wants and the Village of Oak Lawn wishes, it's their vote on the referendum, and I just wish another clerk good luck and hope that they will go and get their certifications. It's going to take me almost 10 years to have mine, which I'll have next year, but I do appreciate you letting me comment, and I'm here for what the voters want, and that's how I've served my first 9 years in office, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And
That clap from the staff means a lot, thank you.
I think I'm going to call it AGO.
Okay, we're on item 21. This is a resolution number 1327-53, approving a contract between the Village of Oak Lawn and the Genesis Therapy Center to provide administrative and program services for the Village of Oak Lawn Senior Center Services for the Village of Oak Lawn Senior Center Services Division. May I have a motion, please, on item 21?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Vorder,
Second.
seconded by trustee Carberry. Any discussion on this item?
The only thing that I would point out is in
Trustee
looking...
Straight, you have the floor.
Thank you. The only thing I wanted to point out is that in looking at the Genesis website, there's no reference to providing any senior services at all, anything for seniors. And of course, I did say at the last meeting that I believe that this is just the next step in outsourcing of senior services, and that's why I'm going to be voting no. Not because it's going to reduce the spending on seniors. We should increase that, but I think this is the wrong way to go.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, let's take the vote, please. Item 21.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
No.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Item 22 is Resolution 132754. This is a resolution approving a lease termination agreement with Lighthouse Financial. May I have a motion, please, on this item?
Motion.
Properly moved by trustee Vorder,
Second.
seconded by trustee Desmond. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Item 23 on the agenda is Resolution 132755, a resolution initiating the submission to the voters of the Village of Oak Lawn the public question of if Illinois interest arbitrators should be prohibited from issuing awards on economic matters in public employee bargaining units that will result in a municipality having to raise taxes in order to pay for the economic item. I'm going to request, please, a motion to remove the, let's table this for now.
Motion to table.
Properly moved by trustee Oliniechek,
Second.
seconded by trustee Desmond. Please take the vote.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank
To
you.
table.
24 on the agenda is a request for approval of a $20 million revolving line of credit for the Oak Lawn Regional Water System. May I have a motion, please, on item 24?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Carberry,
Second.
seconded by trustee Desmond. Any discussion on this item?
Just one question,
Trustee
Mayor.
Straight.
I was wondering if there was an RFP that was put out for this line of credit.
Larry?
There was not. Brian, you want to explain the vetting process that you followed on this one?
The $20 million that we've asked for is, just to give the board an idea, this is at LIBOR plus 85. So we have gone to PFM, and we vetted the price that we're getting this for from BMO Harris through PFM. And BMO Harris has spent a long time, this, as everyone knows, this water distribution system has been in the works for about 4 years. So as long as it was a market-driven deal, the view that Larry and I had was that they were the right ones to do this particular line of credit. So
Maybe for the general public again, the LIBOR rate as of today, and it's a
24 basis
three-month
points.
rate, 0.24.
So we're talking about
85 basis points. We're talking about an interest rate of
1.09.
Yeah, and then again, this actually is a subset of the 179. This isn't over and above the 179. This is allow the finance director the flexibility to recoup any expenses related to the water project that the Village of Oak Lawn, as the owner of the system, has incurred in this interim phase between getting the financing from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. Once again, our share of that $179,000, even at the worst-case scenario where Olympia Fields, Country Club Hills, and Matson do not participate, our share is 11.7%. If they participate, 9.98%. So any of these costs, we'll be recouping those costs that apply to our other customers.
And just to compare that, to remind the board, again, this board approved the $15 million ordinance, which allowed us to issue that first IEPA loan, and that rate of interest is not 1.93%. I realize that's a long-term 20-year rate, and this is a short-term obligation as we get the rest of these communities to come on board with the system. So this is just one phase, Bob, and we did get a market rate instrument. But again, this is only step one of getting a longer-term facility for 5 years,
And if I could, Mayor and Board too, for everyone's aware, we're very fortunate to have outstanding banks and good relationships in this community. We work with Standard Bank, we work with Fifth Third, now this is Harris that we've used. So those are local banks that have come to our assistance, whether it's Stony Creek Promenade, whether it's handling our cash management in the village and our bank, Standard Bank, or whether it's, in this case, working with us on the water model, BMO Capital.
Thank you. Any other discussion on item 24?
I just wanted a little bit, because
Trustee
you had
Oliniechek?
mentioned that $179 million that was mentioned earlier that we approved on. Our total liability on that $179 million would be how much?
Our liability would be, as Larry mentioned, if all the communities come in about 9.9% of the total. But if we have trouble with the Southeast group, which we don't anticipate, by the way, we've had discussions with them, it would be, I'm sorry, if they don't come in, it would be 11.7%, Alex.
But what's the total, the sway in the dollars on the 9.9 and 11.7?
Well, it would be the differences, if it was the worst-case scenario, those three did not participate, roughly $21 million. And if they did participate, our share then would be...
Well, it's about 18 million. It's a little less than...
Yeah, rounded off 18 million.
So
That's the
18
swing.
million, and for that, we're going to redo our complete water system that hasn't been addressed since 1970.
We're going to upgrade 2 pumping stations. We're going to add a looped system versus a single system. The loop system is your public safety in the event a breakage occurs like it occurs now in a single pipeline. We'll be able to reroute and still deliver water where there's the break. So that's, you've got the sustainability, you've got growing water demand projected till 2040, so it's demand related. Number 3, all the electronics and the new pumps will be, we're actually bringing in a new pump modeled after a pump that's been in service in Aspen, Colorado, and also in Washington, that is similar to using the we're going to be producing electricity.
Yeah,
off
because
that
the city
pump.
of Chicago brings in water at a higher pressure. We blow it off now, but that turbine's actually going to create energy?
It will create energy to the equivalent of several hundred homes, and we'll work a deal with ComEd or other suppliers to sell that and reduce your energy costs. It's much more energy efficient. We spend, that's one of our biggest
This is an investment in the
costs.
community. Back when we first did this project, the community bore the whole thing and really got, from the best our financials could tell, got no payback because we put all the money out. Now all the other communities are helping with this community investment. I think very good.
That's correct.
Very good.
Thank
So that's
you.
a good, well-spent investment.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's call the vote, please.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strike?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
We're moving on to item 25, which is a request to approve and waive the formal bidding process and purchase one 2014 Chevy Tahoe from Webb Chevrolet in the amount of $31,477. May I have a motion on item 25, please?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Desmond.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Carberry. Any discussion on this item? Please take the vote.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strike?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, 26, request to approve the recommendations and award the contracts for the 2014 purchase of street sign materials for the following. Sign channel post Tapco of Brown Deer, Wisconsin, aluminum side plates, which are blanks, to U.S. Standard Sign of Franklin Park, Illinois. Banding is going to Lightly Enterprises. Rolled goods and transfer tapes. This is a combined contract to Osborne Associates of Logan, Ohio. May I have a motion, please, on item 26?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Vorder,
Second.
seconded by trustee Carberry. Any discussion, please, on item 26? Let's call the vote, please.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
27 on the agenda is a request to approve the recommendations and award the contract for the 2014 supply of light bulbs and fixtures in the Department of Public Works Street Division to Hellcell Jefferson in the amount of $96,161.08. May I have a motion, please, on item 27?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Vorder,
Second.
seconded by trustee Carberry. Any discussion, please? Call the vote.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 28 on the agenda is the Higher Oak Lawn Program discussion for village vendors and contractors. And I believe I'm going to turn the floor over to trustee Desmond. I think this has been a project of yours and you want some board input, correct?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
You're
This is like an extension of our Oak Lawn Jobs Program, whereas the Oak Lawn Jobs Program was for high school seniors and recent graduates. This is more for hiring qualified people in Oak Lawn. When we are paying for any public projects, when the people of Oak Lawn are paying for a public project, like the water project we're talking about, I would like something in place where that contractor, if he needs to hire new people to do the work, would give a preference to qualified people from Oak Lawn. I would like to see Oak Lawn jobs going to Oak Lawn people. I don't want to go back to a situation like we had with the dispatchers, where of the 20 dispatchers, 80% of them lived outside of Oak Lawn, from Orland Park, Tinley Park, Money, from Plainfield, one of whom earned over $150,000 last year, and yet would demand that we would raise our property taxes to pay them even more money. This is for Oak Lawn people getting Oak Lawn jobs. And I would ask for your support on this.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I would just like
I'm
to
gonna-
commend,
Trustee Oliniechek.
thank you. I'd like to commend trustee Desmond for moving this forward. We have a lot of other projects, whether it's our infrastructure projects, the street projects that we do. I think that we should look to make any type of coachings that we can that would require that qualified people from the Village of Oak Lawn are part of that whole bid, or that they employ people from the Village of Oak Lawn, especially during these times. I know that with some of the street projects, residents of Second District ended up being a byproduct of that extra work that we put in there, and that's good when you can do work in your village and also provide some good income opportunities. So I think that this board should look to do whatever we can to, whenever we're investing in a project, to make sure that Village of Oak Lawn residents that are qualified are hired.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our attorney, please, to weigh in.
Thank you. We have been working with trustee Desmond on this. We're researching it. There are some legal issues to programs like these. You find them more in larger cities throughout the United States. There have been challenges, constitutional issues with Commerce Clause and interstate commerce, things of that nature. So right now we're trying to work with other towns that have something similar in place, how they're implementing it. My thought is that I think one of the important factors in implementing a policy like this is that we're not surprising our contractors. It needs to be, to the extent we get a policy in place, it needs to be, that our contractors should know about this policy in the bid process. So our hope is to have a workable legal policy for you on this issue in your January meeting.
Trustee
Mayor,
Desmond?
Well, we'd like it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, correct, but I think the one difference in this than when the cities like Boston and Aurora and Naperville is that we're not requiring them to hire Oak Lawn people to get the job. All I'm saying is that if they need to hire new people to do the work, that they give Oak Lawn, qualified Oak Lawn people a preference. So that might take care of some of the legal problems.
Thank you. Trustee Carberry is next.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was going to ask. If it's going to be a requirement, obviously you'd be listed in it'd be a requirement of the RFP, but that's the way you would do it, right? Wouldn't it be a requirement? I mean, or is this like you're making it sound like just a good faith?
No.
It'd be a requirement.
It would be a requirement.
Yeah.
If they need to hire new people.
It's, again, that's what we're struggling with in drafting this policy. It's hard to, I agree that it's a great idea, but it's hard to, for example, you could start thinking, what if, for whatever that job is or whatever that trade, there are no Oak Lawn persons looking for a job in that area.
Well, the other,
then
some
you
of-
move on. So it's just writing the policy is what we're struggling now. But we're hoping
Well,
to
you-
have something for you in January on it.
You might get some
Carberry?
issues there with, if it was a 134 contractor, for instance, or different unions you might have to get them from their hall first. You'd be struggling with their rules, their work rules as well, so, I don't know, I'll try to.
Well, I mean, if anyone would need to hire an electrician, they would have to be qualified electrician. They would have to be able to do the job.
Of course, but what I'm saying is the union might already have, their work rules, that might contradict with what you're trying to accomplish, so.
Madam Mayor?
I think Trustee Vorder was next, and then Trustee Olenichek.
Well, I think some of my questions have been answered there.
Okay.
As I listened to the discussion, I think it's a great idea, Tim,
Yeah.
but I do think there's a lot of legal questions here and union questions. A senior electrician out of the hall may take precedent union-wise, I don't know. But I look forward to your opinion on this, because I like the concept and idea. We can do it.
Yeah. Trustee Olenichek.
Madam Mayor, I believe reading that back in the history of Oak Lawn, we used to do our own garbage collection as a part of the village. And I think that when they went and outsourced that back in the 70s or 80s, whenever they did that, I think there was some discussion on that. Is there any way that we can go back in the history to find that out? To make sure, because I think there was some concern about making sure that people from the village of Oak Lawn were hired on to take care of that outsourced. So
We could look at it.
I could look in the minutes.
Yeah.
I just-
And I think we had Trustee Quinlan.
I did. Actually, I'm 100% supportive of this.
Thank you.
And I actually like to extend it, and I've had these discussions with Larry months ago in regards to 111th and Cicero. While I realize that the village is not actually the one negotiating the contracts or the people that are working there, I feel real strong about that. And I'd like to see if we can tie that in as well, that, going forward, subcontractors, that type of thing, that Oak Lawn residents and businesses absolutely get first preference.
Mayor,
Trustee-
I agree, Trustee Cullen. The only issue with that is that, when someone is using private money, we can't very well demand or tell them who to hire. But when we're, the taxpayers, are paying that money,
Only suggest.
I agree. It would be great if we could get everybody in Oak Lawn working.
But
So,
yes.
so I'd love to see this in January brought again before the whole board. Anyone who didn't weigh in want to weigh in on this one? Okay, very good. So we're going to move on to the village clerk's report. Jane,
Thank
you have
you.
the floor.
Sure. Disbursement Resolution Number 2013-22D, approval of semi-monthly disbursements dated December 10th, 2013, in the amount of $11,133,275.79.
May I have a motion, please, on item 29A?
Motion approved.
Properly moved by trustee Quinlan.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Vorder. Any discussion on item 21A? Excuse me, 29A. Please call the roll.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Couple more things, Mayor.
Sure.
I was recently sick, as most of you know, and I just want to thank everybody for the cards, the flowers, the visits, the phone calls. Oak Lawn's a pretty incredible place. Thank you, and I'm feeling a lot better. So all those calls and everything helped, so thanks to everybody. And I just want to congratulate Richard's high school football coach, Tony Sheehan, who this week was named Coach of the Year. We're very proud of you, Tony. Richards took second place in the state football tournament, so congratulations, Tony. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all. That's it.
Thank you. Item 30 is Village President's Report, and I wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all of those wonderful things we celebrate this time of year, and especially peace on earth in 2014. And I have item 31 on the agenda, please. Executive Session 2013-10 for the purpose of discussing 1, probable or imminent litigation, 2, reviewing for approval of executive session meeting minutes 2013-09, dated November 12th, 2013. May I have a motion on item 31, please?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Vorder,
Second.
seconded by trustee Desmond. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. We're going to clear the room, please, for that.